Hi everyone. In this video, I want to share another perspective on gender. So, we know that a soul has no gender. The human soul or spirit or self or atma, whatever you may call it comes into a human body, and the body has a gender. It's either coming into a male body or a female body, but our identification with gender is extremely strong. And psychologists say that from birth or even before birth, it's this identification, this very strong identification of whether I am a man or a woman. This conditioning starts happening right from birth, and the genetic and environmental factors, the education and cultural impact on this identification is extremely strong. And psychologists have various psychologists have said ways that people repress qualities that they do not associate with. Like a boy will repress his softer side, emotional side, and a girl will repress rationality or reason, or it may even be the other way, if depending on the upbringing, that so what if you're a girl, you should be like this. So a lot of repression that happens, the depending on how we identify gender roles, and this identification with gender is extremely strong. Here, the psychologist Carl Jung has a very interesting theory on the way emotional development takes place over years, and uh, he talks about various so we don't have to go into adopt the theory in its entirety or go too much into depth or analysis. Just the concept or just the basic premise of the theory, I feel, has a lot of utility and very relatable and a lot of relativity. So, what he says is that emotional development in men and women takes place, is you know um, takes place in four stages. For men, the first stage is just that woman, he sees woman as a nourisher, like a mother figure and provider of security. And in the second stage, as a sex object, something which is object of desire. And in the third stage, they when they grow up further, they might start valuing the virtues and as a uh, friend. Carl Jung has also given these names to these stages. So he talks about Eve, Helen, Mary, and in the fourth stage, Sophia. And Sophia is the stage where a man can take looks at a woman as an equal partner, as an independent entity uh, in her own right. And slowly, this whole the journey of dependence and how it reduces as the person matures emotionally. And the same stages he identifies for women, where women see man as in a Tarzan figure in the first stage, where it's just his physique which is of importance. In the second stage, as a um, romantic partner. In the third stage, as a professor or a guide, mentor. And in the third stage, as again an equal spiritual guide, equal partner. So, with men, he says that predominantly there is one image of a woman, whereas for women, it can be a mix. So, he stresses more on the male psyche in his analysis and his research. I find this concept, not going into too much of theory and not getting into the nitty gritties, but just this concept of development you can see in many places, and many people stay stuck in either the stage of infancy or adolescence, where they cannot see women as anything but sex objects, or as fulfilling the role of a provider, or so their wife should provide the same kind of physical comfort and security. That role segmentation happens. The same thing happens for women. If you get if depending on how the girl is brought up, women may also have the same images of uh, how she views herself as a woman. Now, so in the process of development, if the person doesn't get stuck in any of these stages, which is quite rare, but should it continue, or if life happens and forces the other person to reevaluate these latent tendencies or unconscious tendencies, the life is designed to progress so that a person tends to reduce these emotional and functional dependencies on the opposite sex and come to a state of having a relationship without these dependencies, taking the other person also as an equal partner. Very interestingly, spirituality also comes to the same place where if you've seen Shiva as a Ardhanarishwar, the concept of Ardhanarishwar Shiva is a perfect balance of the feminine and masculine qualities. And in the difference here is that um, in Hinduism, all of these gods have a female consort. So for each of these three functions of God, which is creation, Brahma, maintenance, Vishnu, and change or destruction, Shiva, each of them have a consort. So they have um, Brahma has Saraswati, who is the goddess of knowledge and creation, creativity. Then you have Lakshmi, whose all resources come under Lakshmi, so she maintenance needs resources. And the third is Shiva, which has Durga. Durga Shakti is change, destruction, and change. So the concept here is not of male and female, but the energy is described as masculine or feminine more in terms of the energy being the Shakti being the active component, more like potential and kinetic energy. So the potential energy is the masculine concept of the same. The masculine is described as masculine energy, and the more kinetic dynamic energy is called the feminine energy. They are not genders, they are beyond genders. It is one energy which is categorized as masculine or feminine. The same thing comes with Radha Krishna. So Radha is unconditional love which can take you to Krishna, which is absolute Ananda, Nandlala, Ananda. So whether you go through Shiva or Krishna, spirituality takes you to the ultimate bliss through energy, through whichever Shakti, which is unconditional love. But it is not male or female. It is masculine and feminine description of the one energy. It is the same energy which is described, which is the only difference is the dynamic aspect is called feminine aspect. It is not male or female. So while all the gods tend to be male in most religions, Jesus or Allah, or they're not even a female god, in Hinduism, female goddesses are there, but the concept behind them remains that of one single energy which manifests as the dynamic aspect and the more passive aspect, more potential aspect. So whether we go from psychology or you go from spirituality, the development of a human being leads you to that one state of completeness, of wholeness, and um, each soul is complete in itself. Each soul has both these components perfectly in balance, and the growth of human beings leads you to that completeness. So now the practicality of this is the importance of this whole, whether you go from psychology or from whichever side, is that repression doesn't work. So if through education a person is told how to behave, those latent tendencies, unconscious tendencies, they just get suppressed and they get expressed in places where maybe behind. That is why crime against married women go up, because if men cannot express certain things and they know they are not supposed to, that repression still erupts elsewhere. So the takeaway for uh, gender education is that only awareness and bringing these uh, unconscious conditionings is to bring them to the conscious. And once a person is conscious of their own conditioning, then the attitude and behavior can change. And unless till it is repressed, uh, it can only erupt. So it is this has that kind of relevance. So, and this kind of awareness, increased awareness for women and for men, say when men even at the age of 70 or 80, they'll still be fascinated by women's breasts, so they're still stuck in infancy. Or women might at that age also, they might try to dress to attract attention, they're still stuck in their adolescence. So many people will, that image of how a woman or man should be could be related to any of those developmental stages. And the way to grow is to bring awareness, nothing awareness, and finally discovering yourself. Eventually, every person's journey leads you to discover who you are beyond gender.